Welcome back to Purple and Gold Zone episode number 14. I'm your host. And yes, I'm wearing the special Kobe Bryant Mamba jersey. And I'm not just wearing it for any old reason. I'm definitely not wearing it because we got bounced out of round one against the Grizzlies. I'm wearing it because we're in round two. And this might be one of the most hyped up round two matchups that we have ever seen. Definitely the most hyped up this season. Lakers versus Warriors. LeBron versus Curry again, also known as LeBron versus the Warriors. Because it's not just LeBron versus Curry. It's LeBron versus the Warriors again. And people are saying this could be the last time. So I don't really know that theme. I think there's plenty more times when LeBron could go up against the Warriors, but I see what they're saying. This is definitely a guaranteed time we'll see these legends clash again. We got a big show today going over again, of course, the Lakers versus Warriors matchup. Finishing off that Grizzlies versus Lakers, going over the last game and kind of what it means for the next series. And then also talking about, again, we've been to the playoffs more recent than our championship, but we've not made it past round one since our championship. So we're going to go over and make some comparisons and talk about, is that 2019-20 team really better than the team we have now? Or is this team as good, if not maybe even better? We'll go into all that, but first and foremost, make sure you check out my other projects, Well Beyond the Arc, which is actually going to be going live Tuesday, May 2nd at 7 p.m. Central. Check it out. If you missed the live, if you watch this after then, just watch it on YouTube. It's as good not live as it is live. Check it out. On that channel, we also got a couple other awesome shows, and there is a Mike Tyson documentary that is coming out, which should be awesome. If you're into boxing or you're just into documentaries, check it out. There's some mafia documentaries. The channel is The Yankee and the Brit, and my co-host on Well Beyond the Arc, Manoli, has his own blog, the Sports Page blog. Check that out. And then also my other show, the Connor and Heffernan Show. We usually post an episode Friday or Saturdays, and it's my all-around sports show. There might be one this Friday the 5th, but I'm not entirely sure, or maybe the 6th. But anyways, enough of all that. Let's get into it, baby. Lakers basketball. That's what we're here to talk about. Starting with the only reason we can even talk about this legendary Series 2 matchup against the Warriors is how we closed out Game 6 against the Grizzlies. Obviously, the Grizzlies are built on momentum. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. Given the momentum of winning Game 6 in LA and taking that back to Memphis would have potentially been disastrous. But luckily, that was not the case. Crypto.com Arena was bumping, as we already knew it was going to be. And the man himself, Jack Nicholson, probably the most prominent figure in Lakers history that isn't a coach, an owner, a player, or anyone related to that. He's probably the most prominent figure outside of that. If you don't know Jack Nicholson, famous, well-renowned actor, he has been a Lakers fan for so many years, dating, I think, even as late to the 70s. He's been back there since then, and he's seen several different arenas. He's seen the Kareem and the Magic days, the Kobe and the Shaq days, the Kobe days, and now the LeBron days. Different arenas, ups and downs. Mr. Nicholson has been courtside through it all. So seeing him there, I was like, they've got it. Because yes, LeBron hasn't been there for 20 years. These guys haven't been there for so many years like some of the former Lakers players have been. But they know what it means to see a figure like him there. And that was a lot of motivation. I'm not going to say he's the reason they won, but it was definitely a motivation seeing a legend like there at that game. Especially one that is kind of a recluse. He doesn't really go out anymore. So that was a big deal. The Lakers put on a show. They beat the Grizzlies by 40 points. Brooks wanted 40, and he got 40. It might not have been just from LeBron, but that team performance overall was just incredible. LeBron James had a really, really solid game. Really across the board, he had a really good game. He had 22 points. He was 9 for 13 field goal percentage, 2 for 5 from 3, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 1 steal. Really solid performance from LeBron. The player I want to shout out, though, is Anthony Davis. He is one reason that we controlled this game as much as we did. He had 5 blocks, matched up with 16 points on 6 for 9 from field goal and 14 rebounds with 1 assist as well. He had a really good game. He was really consistent. They couldn't stop him. He only scored 16, but he was 6 for 9 on the field. I mean, that was absolutely stellar performance from Anthony Davis. He was consistent. We needed consistency, and that's what we got. When we look at the player of the game, in my opinion, though, it wasn't these guys. It was D'Angelo lights out Russell because he played phenomenal basketball. In 30 minutes, he had 31 points,
5 for 9 from 3, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. He played lights out basketball. He played the basketball he was always born to play as a Laker. That wasn't just rookie figuring it out, couple games, big points. That was all time Lakers basketball. He played great. He helped control the pace, and something I really liked, I've said it before, when you are playing with LeBron James, you are really just a basketball player, especially if you're a guard. LeBron plays every position to an extent. Now, you're not seeing him get as big as he used to, but again, I mean, he had 20 plus rebounds in a game. That shows that he's still that guy. To have 20 boards in a game, he's still getting pretty big and getting down low. So he might not do it as consistently as he plays point, but that man is the point guard. But we have seen D'Angelo Russell really solidify himself and take a little bit of that motion away from LeBron and a little bit of that pressure, because LeBron would never admit to being pressured, and maybe he's really not. I know he likes the ball in his hand. But I think that D'Angelo Russell taking some of that guard spot and taking even just a chunk of that away from LeBron has really helped open up the floor and really helped them. And we saw that in this game. I mean, D'Angelo Russell was the point guard. And again, he didn't have monster assist numbers, but how could he with how many points he scored? I mean, he was shooting the lights out of Crypto.com and also still moving the ball around and making some really good plays. Another player who had a really great game, Austin Reeves, 11 points, 8 assists, and 6 rebounds. He had a really, really solid showing. Wenyen Gabriel and Mo Bamba did get their minutes like we said they needed to. Mo Bamba had himself a really good game. No points, but he had 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 block. And honestly, I'll take that. Just give him the minutes. Yes, he only had 9, but you match that up with Wenyen Gabriel's 9, and we had a really good rotation going there at the big man position. They were out there making a difference, blocking shots, keeping the momentum up, and that's why we won. They really capitalized on everything they needed to capitalize on, and we left the third with such a large lead, 67-100. I mean, that was the end of the game. The Lakers were playing such good ball. LeBron didn't even need to go in. They could sit LeBron. AD was good. This team played great ball. And they closed it out in the finish. Because this is what I'll say about the Grizzlies. Yeah, Ja Morant scored the same as Dillon Brooks. Let's also say that. You know that when your star player Ja Morant scores the same as the brickmaster Dillon Brooks, you've got a problem. So right then and there, they had an issue. But they could not get anything going. And the fourth was when the Lakers needed to shut this down, because the Grizzlies very easily could have started to make a push, but the Lakers held them off, and I have to credit that very strongly to players like Mo Bamba, Wenyen Gabriel, Austin Reeves, players like that were keeping it alive and keeping them in this game. And we left with some of the best energy and some of the best momentum that we have seen, that I have seen ever in the LeBron era. Now, I'm not saying ever as a Lakers fan, but in the LeBron era, that might be the best momentum I have seen us pick up. And that is great, because next up, we have the legendary matchup, Lakers versus Warriors. Let's talk about that next. LeBron versus the Warriors. This has been going on way before LeBron was a Laker. Matter of fact, this rivalry has nothing to do with the Lakers. This has to do with LeBron James, just him. Again, you could also say Tristan Thompson, because he was a part of those Cavalier teams. But LeBron James has a history against the Golden State Warriors. He also has a losing record game-wise against the Golden State Warriors. He is 7-15 versus the Golden State Warriors. That all comes from playoffs, specifically all finals. This will be the first series LeBron has played them where it hasn't been an NBA Finals. So the dynamic is also a little bit different. Yes, it is still LeBron versus the Warriors, but it's not for a title. It's for who is going to move on to the Western Conference Finals. So it's kind of a different setup, a different scenario. But what we do know about LeBron James is when he goes up against the Golden State Warriors, even though his record doesn't show a lot of success. Him personally, he has had some absolutely stellar, phenomenal, legendary performances. He averages 33 points a game, 11.5 rebounds a game, 9.3 assists per game in his 22 games against the Warriors. Match that up with some legendary chase down blocks, some absolutely clutch shots, and some moments that some would consider just absolutely inhuman. LeBron James is him, especially when he plays against the Warriors. Now, why is his record 7-15, you might ask? Well, here's the thing. What you have to remember about LeBron James is there was only one team, in my personal opinion. Yes, he played with Kyrie and Kevin Love for more than that one championship they won, but there was only one team that LeBron James ever played with that was actually decent in Cleveland, and that was that championship winning team when they came back from 3-1, and in my personal opinion had the best NBA finals and potentially just NBA playoff game, or maybe any sport playoff series of all time, and the best game in that Game 7. This Cleveland Cavaliers team was absolutely electric. They were that team. They were the best Cavs team in history. They were one of the best NBA teams. They were that team. But you fast forward to the 2017-18 season, also known as LeBron James's last season as a Cleveland Cavalier. Jeff Green, Channing Frye, Jordan Clarkson, Jose Calderon, Eamon Shumpert, Isaiah Thomas, Rodney Hood, Larry Nance Jr., Kendrick Perkins. These are who he was playing with. These are those players that he took to the NBA Finals with. That should go to show who LeBron James is. That team, the next season, the same exact, almost, not the same exact, not exactly the same, but almost the same exact roster of Rodney Hood, of George Hill, of Kyle Korver, of Kevin Love, of Larry Nance Jr., of newly drafted Colin Sexton, J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson. They went 19-63 and finished 14th in the Eastern Conference. The Cleveland Cavaliers did not have a chance without LeBron James, and the only season that he had a team somewhat built around him was when they won the championship in 2016. But here's the thing about that. The reason that I say only slightly is this. You did have some really solid pieces in Cleveland. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, and LeBron James were that main core. When you look at the players that were around them, the role players, yes, you had Joe Harris. You had players like J.R. Smith. You had players like Tristan Thompson, who was playing some of his better basketball. You had players like Mo Williams. You had really, really, really good players overall. You had really good setup overall. You really did. You had a really decent team built around LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin Love. But they were not as built as this Lakers team is. This Lakers team, in my personal humble, trying not to be too much of a crazy fan that is not thinking straight, I think this Lakers team is better than that Cavs team was. I think LeBron has better shooters around him. I think LeBron has better big men around him. I think LeBron has a better team around him than he had when they won the championship. Now, I'm not going to say that the Lakers are championship bound, that they're going to make it out of the West, but the Lakers have a really, really, really solid, well-put-together team, the best team they've had since they won the championship, and we'll talk about that next. That's going to be our last topic, but the Lakers have that team. They have a really solid, well-put-together team around those stars in Anthony Davis and LeBron. It's not just AD and LeBron and some no-name role players. It's AD and LeBron and some absolutely ready-to-play basketball players. And we have a very similar setup to that Magic and that Kareem team. And I'm not saying that LeBron is Magic and that AD is by no means Kareem, but they've got those stars, and then they have some They've got the big stars and they've got the smaller stars, but they're still shining. Their light is still there. They're just not as big as those big stars in LeBron. They're not as polarizing as LeBron and AD, but we have Austin Reeves, we have Hachimura, we have D'Angelo Russell, and I would say those go above just being role players. And then we have role players in Gabriel, Troy Brown. We've got Malik Beasley when he cannot brick is a decent role player. We've got these role players out here. We've got that really nice talent. We've got the Schroeders, the spark plugs. We've got such a well-built, deep team. And the fact that I can say the Lakers are a deep team, I can't even believe it. I could not have said that at the beginning of the season. I really hope I didn't say that. Maybe I should fact check and make sure I didn't, but I better not have, because we have been so consistent and so well put together for the first time since that championship. And that outmatches even that team that came back from the unthinkable 3-1. So this is what I want to say. Different times, obviously, way different teams, different scenarios. When we talk about the Golden State Warriors, something I want to preface and say that I said last episode was the Warriors went to 7 against the Kings. Now, the Kings, you could look at it as the Kings choked. Plenty of teams have came back from 2-0 deficits, and that's all the Warriors were down. Plenty of teams have done that. They were never down 3-1. Something that the Kings could not do was keep up with the Warriors long term. The Warriors are a team that have gone the distance and have been in so many playoff series with this general core, specifically Draymond, Clay, and Steph, that they were ready. I mean, Draymond Green is not the same Draymond Green he was. Klay Thompson is not the same Klay Thompson he was, in my personal opinion. But they still are that team. They've been there so many times, and they know what it takes. Match that up with Jordan Poole, who's a part of their championship team last year. Match it up with Kevon Looney, who was a part of their championship team and has been with them pretty consistently. Wiggins. I mean, this is a really well put together team. This is a team that just won the championship. Don't forget, this team literally won the championship just last season. I've said it as a joke / half serious, but you can forget that because of how they played in the regular season. They did not play well in the regular season. They were inconsistent, terrible on the road, and decent at home, but it wasn't enough. Obviously, they finished 6th in the West, still got to miss that play-in tournament, and still had a really obviously great series wrap-up against the Kings, going to a Game 7 and closing out in a big way, winning by 20 points. Now, let's talk about this. We could talk about Kevon Looney's 21 rebounds and his 11 points. We could talk about Klay Thompson, but we really can't talk about Klay Thompson. He didn't have a super great game. 4 for 19, 2 for 10 from 3, 16 points. The only player we can really talk about specifically in that closing game is Stephen Curry. 50 points. And this wasn't an overtime win. This was in regular time. 50 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal. Steph Curry went off. Apparently he gave some really inspirational speech after that Game 6 and just went off and said, we've got to do this, we've got to be that team, this and that. Told the players that were apparently complaining about minutes that they don't even earn those minutes, they don't deserve them, and he just went off. And then he followed that up by going off on the court. And does it surprise me that Steph Curry played like he did? Absolutely not. People forget that Curry is one of the best players of all time, and he by far is the best point guard in the league right now, and a top 5 point guard all time. That's who Curry is. So Curry going out and flaming a Kings team that, quite frankly, the Queens had used everything they had in that Game 6. I wasn't shocked that the Warriors came out and won the series. Biggest downside for the Warriors is that they had a Game 7 in particular. That's not a big plus for them. And in one retrospect, the 6th seed beat the third seed, and they had a really good game, a really good showing, and they looked like a team that could go the distance against most top 3 teams. But how I see it is this. The Queens burnt out. The Queens could not close out. They couldn't stay with the Warriors that long. They needed to close it out in 5 or 6 games, and they could not. The fact that it was a 7-game series, I think most basketball fans, and definitely all Warriors fans, bandwagon and otherwise, knew what the Warriors were about to do. because the Warriors are not a team that's going to lie down and die, especially when you have the best point guard in the league right now, Steph Curry, on your team. They were going to fight up until the end, and the Kings just did not come out with that same energy. They played really inconsistent ball in the last game, and the Warriors just took over, specifically Steph Curry. Steph Curry is the reason they won. Take Steph Curry off of that team, and the Warriors are not walking away with this series. Kevon Looney, people are talking about his performance. 11 points, 21 rebounds, 4 assists. This man can grab boards. Absolutely, this man can grab boards. But his career stats are 5.1 points per game, 5.6 rebounds per game, 1.6 assists per game, 0.5 steals, and 0.6 blocks. Stop saying this man is... I saw someone say this is Dennis Rodman. This is not Dennis Rodman. This is Kevon Looney having one really good game. He did not have another game in the series that quite matched up like this, in my personal opinion. Yes, he did have a really big Game 5 performance, notching one more rebound than this game. But what I liked more about this game in particular is he dished the ball around more, and he looked a little bit more overall as a player, and it benefited them. But Kevon Looney is absolutely no match for AD. I want to get this out of the way right now. Anthony Davis, when he takes his Mickey Mouse ears off and stops being a Disney or Mr. Injury, he is the best big man in the league. There is no denying that. When he had that really healthy stint in the regular season, he got put into MVP talks for the first time in years. He has not been in MVP talks. He is that guy. Kevon Looney's going to get bullied. He's going to get bodied, especially if we use our resources correctly. And what I mean by that is this. If we use Mo Bamba, Wenyen Gabriel, Anthony Davis, heck, I'd like to see a little... Come on now, this is some nostalgia. Tristan Thompson was also in the Warriors versus LeBron era. Let's get Tristan Thompson some minutes. We need to work our big man out in order to take this series away off the bat. Right off the bat, I'm going to say that. Because, again, people are saying, oh, Kevon Looney had a performance that was legendary. He had such a great series performance. But I just listed you his stats all time, and there is no way that he is going to outplay Anthony Davis. If AD shows up as AD and not a Disney, the Warriors better watch out. Now, here's the thing that the Warriors obviously have over the Lakers, and that is consistency in their threes. Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Jordan Poole. Those are some of the premier three-point shooters in the league. They're all on the same team. They're all playing together. And while Jordan Poole might not be quite as consistent or as well-known for his threes as a player who's made it his career in Steph Curry. I'm not saying that's all Curry does, but he's made that his career. That's what put him on the map, and that's the thing that defined his career and honestly changed the league. And then, of course, we've got Klay Thompson, who also was part of that league-changing threes, and he is right up there with Steph Curry. They've definitely got the best three-pointing team in the league as a whole. Whether or not they always play like it, they have the best three-pointing team because they have two of the best, if not the best, in Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and then match it up with a player like Jordan Poole, who is decently consistent. He's not obviously as consistent. He's only about a 33% consistency, but still, he's there. And then you also match it up. We cannot forget about Andrew Wiggins, who's 39%. This team is a juggernaut from three, and while we didn't always see it catch fire and work against the Kings, we did see them get in a groove with their threes, and the worst thing for the Lakers or anyone that would play against the Warriors is if they get in a groove. And they definitely looked like they were getting in a groove, especially in that last game. Now, Andrew Wiggins went 1 for 5. Jordan Poole didn't have a fantastic game. I think he was 2 for 6 or something like that. But the point is they have those players that can do it, and we've seen them do it. And if Steph Curry is out there telling these guys what's up and telling them, y'all need to stop complaining, you don't have to play for us, you don't have to get on that bus. If he's really talking his talk and saying that, they're locked in. And that's not to say they weren't locked in before, but they are definitely locked in. If your greatest player in franchise history is talking that talk, you better be ready. So I'm not going to say they're not. One more thing I want to say that kind of connects the past Warriors to now is they're missing a certain player who they had on the teams that really dominated LeBron. Those teams that really demoralized LeBron and his Cavs teams were the teams with Kevin Durant. And this team does not have Kevin Durant. And I am sorry, no amount of players such as Andrew Wiggins or Jordan Poole are going to make up for a player of KD's caliber. Kevin Durant made it almost unwatchable. When your team went up against them, you were just hoping you didn't get beat by 10 or 15 points. That Warriors team had such a flow. I don't know if we'll ever see a basketball team that had that flow that Warriors team had with KD, Klay, Steph Curry, Draymond Green. I mean, that was a team where it was effortless and it was annoying to watch on the other side of things. So what I will say is this. You take that out. They are not quite the same team. I don't think they're even thinking they're the same team. There are people trying to make comparisons, this and that. They're a different team. LeBron is on a different team. The only thing that connects it is Tristan Thompson. And who knows if he's even going to step on the court. All of the past aside, everything aside, we went up against a top 5 point guard in the league in Ja Morant. And we effectively shut him down for the most part. Now, he had those big performances, but we shut him down in Game 6, and we did shut him down overall, because if we didn't shut Ja Morant down, we would not be the team playing the Warriors in round 2. It would be the Grizzlies. So we already shut down a top 5 point guard in the league. But now we're going to be going up against the top point guard in the league. This isn't a top 5 guard in the league. This is a top 5 guard all time and the best guard in the league. Defending him, making sure we absolutely pressure him as much as possible is necessary. We need to pressure him. I want to see more Dennis Schroeder minutes. I want to see D'Angelo Russell in his face, because Russell can lock him down. Russell's quick. Russell knows what to do. I want to see D'Lo versus Steph is actually an underrated matchup that I think is going to be fireworks. When it comes to what I already said about big men, we have that over them. We have that over so many teams. If AD is healthy and we utilize Mo Bamba and Wenyen Gabriel and Tristan Thompson, yes, and Tristan Thompson. I know he's not great. I know he's older, but we should still give him some minutes, especially in this series and going forward. If you utilize your big men, you will not be beat by the Warriors. They do not have anyone that can compete with our big men if we utilize it correctly. And that does not just mean focusing in on AD. We need to get everybody involved. We need to get everybody touches, and that's how we will control that position. And I don't think Kevon Looney is going to have a prayer against our big man, especially if we are utilizing them correctly. And if AD can obviously stay healthy. And that brings me to my last point. The last thing that is crucial for us to have a chance against the Warriors is LeBron and AD need to stay healthy. We have not seen LeBron and AD stay healthy for more than one playoff series since the bubble. And I'm not going to lie, I think Anthony Davis played injured. I think LeBron played not injured, but decently battered, because that next season was a disaster injury-wise. AD was out, and then so was LeBron. And a big part of that was, I think they played through some injuries and they pushed through for that chip. I would like to believe that they could do that again and do that this season. But it's different circumstances. It was bigger than basketball that year. Kobe had just died. There were so many things that I think played into the emotions and played into them being able to play through whatever they played through. That will not be the case this time. They need to stay healthy. They need to stay active. They need to stay smart. LeBron has dominated the Golden State Warriors player-wise his whole career. He has gone out and competed, and I told you his averages already. Those are really solid averages. But do not force-feed LeBron the ball. Do what was so great in round 1. Get the entire team involved. Don't get LeBron out there hucking up risky shots to try to get us back from being down 10. Okay? Play it smart. Play it smart. Play team basketball, because this team, this Lakers team, not just LeBron, not just AD, this Lakers team is special. My realistic prediction for this game is six games. I've got the Lakers winning this in 6. I have it being a back-and-forth game, shot for shot, much like the Memphis series, but I've got our Lakers coming out on top. And for our final topic of the day, we're going to look at a blast from the past, but it's not too far back in the past. We're going to look at the last Lakers team that won a championship, that 2019-20 team, and compare them to this year's team. Were they really that much better than us? Are we a better team than that was? Or what's the difference really out here? Is it a huge difference? Is it not? Well, first and foremost, that playoff experience was unique in the sense that it was in the bubble. And some people, such as very annoying talking head Skip Bayless, think that the Lakers championship run deserves an asterisk because it was in the bubble. Now, I don't agree with that. I think it deserves some special recognition, but I don't think it deserves to be looked at less than any other NBA championship. It was actually, in my personal opinion, one of the harder ones to successfully win. So many teams crumbled and fell under the pressure of that, and the Lakers did not. And the Lakers were not a team such as this. First and foremost, the way that we were different right off the bat is we were a really good team the whole season. We were the first seed, 52-19. 36-10 in the conference, 25-10 at home, 27-9 away. I mean, we were a force to be reckoned with. We were the best team in the West by 3 games. We were the only 50-win team in the West. To put that in perspective, there were 2 this season. There were quite a few last season. There were 4 last season. And then in the season before then, there were also 2. So we were the only 50-win team that season. Now, again, that doesn't really say much, but we were the best team. We were by far the best team in the West, and we just looked super solid. And then, of course, COVID shut everything down, and it kind of looked like the championship that we really thought we were going to get, we weren't. The bubble comes up, and here's my thoughts about the bubble. I respected it for what it was. I think that it was something that will hopefully never have to happen again. And I don't know. It's really hard because I was really into it and it was something to do. I mean, it was still during the peak of COVID, so quite a few things were still not up to date normal. So it was like good to have that. It felt normal. And it was that was a really tough year for me, personally, that whole time was, and it meant a lot to me to see that and to be able to be alive and actually fully invested, not missing a second during a championship. So it was really special for me. But here's what I want to say, looking past all of that, when we look at it team-wise, that Los Angeles Lakers team was built up of Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Kyle Kuzma, Danny Green, Rajon Rondo, Alex Caruso, Markieff Morris, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, J.R. Smith, Talen Horton-Tucker, Quinn Cook, Dion Waiters, and Jared Dudley. When we look at the team today, the only players that remain are Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Of all those players I just listed, there's only 2 left. And it was the staple 2. It was the core 2 that remained. Everyone else was gone. Everyone else is not here. Now, we didn't lose everyone the next season. We did retain quite a few of the same players, which was actually part of the problem. But now only 2 remain. When we look at those players, right off the bat, what I want to say about the Los Angeles Lakers this season is this. In my personal opinion, we have a way better 3-point shooting team. In the sense of this, we acquired Danny Green back before the 2019-20 season because we wanted to surround LeBron by shooters. He shot 1 big shot in a regular season game, a buzzer beater against the Mavs during the regular season, and that was pretty much it. He was really inconsistent, bricking, and he was not what he was supposed to be, in my personal opinion. So right off the bat, I think we have a better 3-point shooting team this year, and I think that is a strength that this team carries over that team. Because yes, D'Angelo Russell has not been consistent his whole time as a Laker, both past and present. Malik Beasley is shooting more bricks than he's making shots. But we've got Hachimura shooting threes pretty consistently. We've got Austin Reeves. I shouldn't confuse them because literally that's another thing a point I have to make next. I'm making my next point on accident. But no, Austin Reeves is fantastic from three. LeBron is not great from three, but he'll shoot them, and he was decently consistent, a little bit more consistent in that last game. He at least shot them at better times and wasn't shooting them when we were down. So we've got players that can shoot threes. We'll see Schroeder shoot a three from time to time. This entire team is not afraid to shoot threes. The whole point I'm trying to make is our roster this year is not afraid to shoot threes. The roster we had for that 2019-20 team, I didn't see the same fearlessness. We're a lot more aggressive from three, and it's not like we were when we had Westbrook. Sorry, I try not to make that mistake too often, but I thought I'd let that one slip at least once. Anyways, I don't think that we were, any better off. We were actually worse off than we were on this team. So we just really started to de-evolve from three, and this was a big jump because we started to look more aggressive. We look fearless. We're making more than we're missing, and honestly, I know I roasted them a little bit for their 3-point performances, but this last one, game 6, they did look a lot more consistent, and you still saw more consistency. So right off the bat, I've got to give 3-point to this new team, to this team that we have currently. But what I will say that this other team had on us was big men. We had Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, and a healthy, dangerous Anthony Davis. That was a scary, scary three-headed monster. Now, again, we had Frankie V, who was not the greatest with lineups. You think that Darvin isn't good with lineups? Frankie V was terrible with lineups. I think Darvin is good with lineups. He's just still trying to figure out what the best possible lineup for this team is. Frankie V was bad with lineups even when they won the championship. Even in the series that they won against the Heat, it was not an incredible job on on Frankie V's part with that roster and that lineup that he put in like that. I mean, the roster was solid, but the way he used it was not great. So I'll say Frankie V was not the most consistent with his lineups, but still, you had Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, and Anthony Davis. Now, we do have Tristan Thompson, Wenyen Gabriel, Anthony Davis, Mo Bamba, but the difference is we had vets. We had a veteran powerhouse in Dwight Howard, one of the best of all time, Hall of Famer by far, absolutely deserved that championship. And we had JaVale McGee, who's won multiple championships and has been a staple on each team. So these were real. This was the real deal. These were the real deal centers. We had the real deal big men surrounding and Anthony Davis, who did a pretty darn good job staying healthy. So the advantage specifically in the big man position has to go to that 2019-2020 team, just because of the names they had and how they were used. Now, here's what I want to say. Caruso, I accidentally said his name earlier when I was trying to say Austin Reeves. Another advantage we have over this Lakers team is we have a lot more potential or already becoming star power. Alex Caruso was great. I mean, he was fun to watch. I saw him live as a Laker multiple times, and he was just fun because he was like that secret weapon spark plug, and people loved him. Fans loved him. Opposing teams loved him. He was just a really cool, loved player, and that was really cool to be a part of as a Lakers fan, to have a player like that. But Austin Reeves is so much better. And when people say, oh, the Lakers got themselves another Alex Caruso, I've heard that, and well, I did not mean to confuse the names. It just happens sometimes. That you guys have noticed. If you've watched my show since the beginning, sometimes I have to correct myself. It happens. Whatever. I don't really care. It is what it is. My biggest mistakes, y'all don't hear for sure. Anyways, but that's neither here nor there. I just feel like it's not disrespectful because no one means disrespect by it, but they're not the same player. Austin Reeves has so much more star power. D'Angelo Russell has so much more star power. Yeah, no, they had Rajon Rondo. And Rondo is a great all-time legendary Hall of Fame point guard. But he wasn't that Rajon Rondo when we had him. Now, he was still great, and he played phenomenal basketball in the playoffs. Some of the best basketball we'd seen in a couple of seasons from Rondo. But I still have to give D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt. I have to give Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura. These guys have real potential to be stars. Talen Horton-Tucker, no. Quinn Cook, I don't think he's even in the league anymore. Okay? Kyle Kuzma is a role player at best. Danny Green, not in the league anymore. Alex Caruso, battling injuries, definitely not as good once he left the Lakers system. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, decent player. Pretty sure he's on the Nuggets now, and so he's still in and fighting for a playoff berth and potentially a Western Conference, and that's good for him. I mean, he's a good... Honestly, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a good player, but the main point that I'm trying to make is this. We have more star power, and we have more players that I can see being retained after this season and actually truly benefiting the long term of the Lakers. And those players were not. We won a championship and then that was it. They were done. Whether or not they stayed after that season or not, we never accomplished anything else big with that group of players. I truly think the group of players we have now could go just beyond this season. So for me, that championship team of 2019-20 really felt like a one-and-done type of team, because after that, it really was. We lost a lot of the players that had made that team good, and the players that remained just didn't make a big enough difference. So if I'm going to be honest, the only thing that I would give that team over us is, I already talked about how they had maybe a little bit better positioning down low with centers and big men. But what I would give them over us was experience. They had a lot more players that had been there before. Obviously, LeBron James. Obviously, Anthony Davis hadn't been to the finals before, but he'd been in the playoffs. Danny Green has been to the finals and won a championship. Rajon Rondo has been to the finals and won a championship. Dwight Howard has been to the finals, not won a championship. JaVale McGee, been to the finals, won multiple championships. J.R. Smith, okay? I could go on and on. Dion Waiters. I could go on and on. The experience on that team was outmatched. And that is why we survived so well in the bubble, because we had experience, we had that chemistry, and that was really special. But when we look at the stats-wise and when we look at it actual team-wise and on the court, not just off the court and not just surrounding the court, this 2023 Lakers team has potential to be as good, if not better, than this Lakers team. Here's what I will say. The only thing that would truly give this 2019-2020 Lakers team a leg up on this one is a championship. If this 2022-23 Lakers team wins a chip, they might be one of the better teams in Lakers history, or at least one of the better Lakers turnarounds in history that we've ever seen. So there's something to be said for that. If they don't win, this is what I will have to say. The Lakers need to make the Western Conference Finals for me to view them as a better team than this 2019-2020 team officially. In the meantime, I think the 2022-23 team outmatches this 2019-20 team in almost every way possible. But I think they have to make it a little bit farther to solidify that for me. But still, both teams are great. Shout out to the 2019-2020 championship team, because, again, that is our last championship. And I don't care what anyone says. There is no asterisk there. That was one of the hardest fought championships I've seen. And it was special, and it was enjoyable to see as a fan, someone who was kind of going through it. And it was a good escape, and it felt special. So shout out to that team, but this 2020-23 team absolutely has potential to be even better.